We had some technical difficulties as YouTube is updating its stuff again. So they're moving buttons around and certain things don't work as they roll out their new whatever software. So, anyway, all of that aside, I hope you guys are having a happy Sunday. If you don't know who I am, I'm Tara with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot. And if you want to learn a little bit more about me, you could check out the information box down below. You could check out my website, kittensweightsandtarot.com. You could check out my witchy shop, Desert Cauldron, over on Etsy. Lots of good stuff, ways to support the channel. Maybe check out Patreon or my YouTube members. All of that information is down below. And all right. So before we get into today's chat, which by the way, I love hanging out with you guys on Sundays, um, we'll be doing our weekly reading first. So I highly encourage you guys to bust out your cards or pendulums or, whatever it is that you use to access your intuition, or maybe you just do some good old fashioned channeling and do some downloads. And that is totally awesome as well. So, after that, we will get into what you guys voted on in the poll. So there was a poll that went out this past week. It was a poll that was also given to my Patreon group and also my YouTube member. So technically, if you are a YouTube member or a patron, you get extra votes. So if there's some things that you want to see, especially during the Sunday's live chat, then that could push the votes forward. And actually, it did for this Sunday's live chat. So it was pretty close. There was a couple of things that were pretty close, but when you add in the votes from our members, it kind of pushed it forward. So we are going to be pulling some personalized plant medicine cards for you guys. Afterwards, we'll do some super chats and super stickers. What that is just little donation readings. So, hey, maybe you got a card pulled during the live chat. Let's say I pulled the feverfew card, herb, and you want to get an actual message from feverfew, you could do that with super chats and super stickers. And then afterwards, we'll do our little channeled guided meditation and call it a Sunday. So anyway, so let's go ahead and start to dive in. But before we do, I want to give a little shout out to my homies out there. So all of my subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for supporting what I do, for hanging out with us during live chats, for giving thumbs ups on the videos, comments, sharing, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And by the way, there is a short that I created. I haven't created that many shorts, but I do want to create more for YouTube, the YouTube shorts. So I did a light activation that was about a minute long, or a few minutes long. And then I have a couple of videos just out kind of having fun when we were at the range and practicing some from the holster, concealed carry, shooting. And actually one of those videos is at like 34,000 plus views. And so that is so freaking awesome. So I do want to create some more shorts, just kind of like various things, so you guys can kind of see like all the other things I do kind of outside of YouTube, so I do want to do like more light activations. I do want to add more Mayan astrology stuff, and I do want to add more of my shooting. That stuff's really fun for me. And just, maybe I'll add some of my art, of me, drawing and things like that. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun, because they're just short, little, simple videos, no more than a minute. And so expect that to be added to the channel, just more of those. I do want to create some more unique videos, not just my channeling videos and not just the light activation videos, but, other videos for you guys. Maybe bring back a couple of the deck reviews. A lot of people really like that. So yay, thank you so much. Riley says, good morning from the beautiful White Mountains of Arizona. And Duality Tales is here. Hey! And by the way, when you guys see a cute little kitty head next to the screen name, such as on Duality Tales, you know that they are a YouTube member. Mwah! Love you, Duality Tales. Says, hey, Tara, I've been practicing with my cards, and for this week, I pulled 3 cards and got the Queen of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, and 3 of Wands. Hey, I'm liking all the 3s in there. That's awesome. And then also Queen of Pentacles. Or sorry, the Queen of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, and the 3 of Wands. Yeah, I like the 3. I like the court card that's in there and the Ace of Cups. Ah, be still, my beating heart. So I love that. That's awesome. So speaking of my YouTube members, like Duality Tales, I do want to say thank you also to Jolene and Astrid and Nancy and Kayla. Thank you so much for supporting through YouTube members and also for my patrons. So thank you to Lily and Dana and Jamie and Kayla and Surian and Brandy and Jason and Brian and Palu, Crystal, Easy Does It, Oz, Joel, 1111, and Casey Gritter. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. Okay, so I have a few of my, well, I picked a few plant decks since we are going to be pulling some plant cards later. But I have one of my faves, the Herb Crafters Tarot, because yes, you know, I do consider myself, as much as I consider myself a little bruja, I'm also a curandera. So, okay, I also have the Witch's Kitchen. I have the Essential Oils Healing deck, but it's got the herbs, so you guys will see when I pull those cards. I have the Green Witch Oracle. Yay! The Magical Herb Oracle. And the Jupiter Power Tarot and the Nature's Pharmacy deck. So yay. Okay. All right. Ooh, and I also brought an herb book out. I have like a large healing herb library. So this is one of my favorite books, and actually I got this at a thrift shop and it's really good. And this is Rondale's Illustrated Encyclopedia of Herbs, and it's got a lot of good stuff in there. So if you guys find this secondhand, score. I know that I think I found these on Amazon as well in the used books, and you know that Amazon does really well with used books. Like sometimes you can find books for like $1, $1.50, sometimes 50 cents depending on the book. But anyway, in this book it's got a lot about not only the medicinal uses for certain herbs and kind of how to use them and which herbs might be considered toxic or which herbs might be, not so good for children or women who are pregnant. But also how to kind of plant your own herb garden is in here as well. And there's like a little history on herbs. So dude, there's a lot jam-packed in this book. But anyway, this is the book I want to utilize later on after the weekly reading. So stay tuned for that. Okie dokie. Yay. So let's dive in to the weekly reading. Let's see. What do I want to use? Decisions. Ooh, maybe I'll use the Jupiter Power Tarot. And you guys know this is one of my favorite deck creators, Charlie Quintero. She's out in Los Angeles, and I believe she is working on another deck. But I have her Moon Power Tarot, the Star Power Tarot, the Mars Power Tarot, and then of course, yes, the Jupiter Power Tarot. But this one is unique in that each of the cards is her own take on certain herbs and flowers. And so I just really love this deck. Okay, so let's pull a few cards on what to expect for this upcoming week. This could be something for us to meditate on, something for us to maybe heal with or watch out for, or just kind of keep in mind, or an energy to embrace. Remember that this is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Okay. So again, if anybody else is watching who would like to offer their input for this upcoming week, I highly encourage you to do so, because I think it creates a more well-rounded reading. So even though, yes, I'm pulling cards, if you guys pull cards as well, imagine all the higher selves coming together with a wide array of messages for the upcoming week. I think that would be a lot of fun. All righty. Hey, 1111 is here. Speaking of one of my patrons, what's up? Okay. So let's go ahead. Ooh, looks like we have one card so far. So let's pull a couple more cards. You know what? And I'm being called to also pull one of the kitchen witchery cards. And actually, this is a really good guidebook, the Kitchen Witch's Kitchen guidebook, because it has like actual like recipes for things you can create and stuff to do. It's a lot of fun. So I will actually, I'll use my intuition to read the card, but then if it has a little recipe that goes with the card, I'll read that too. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull that away. Alrighty, so let's take a look at our cards here. We have the Five of Swords. Ooh. We have the Ace of Swords. Ooh, two swords cards. What's coming up? And oh my gosh, a third swords card. So this is the Nine of Swords. Alrighty, so and as I'm looking at these swords cards, the wind kicks up. And as you know, air, energy, wind is often connected with the swords, connected with the mind, connected with the intellect and action and, all of that. So creativity often as well. But let's put all of these together, with our Nine of Swords, Five of Swords, and then that Ace. So let me show you guys this so that way you guys can tap in with your own intuition and again, offer your insights. And if you're pulling cards right along with us or just getting your downloads, again, share that with us as well. So let me dive in. Okay, so what they're saying for the upcoming week is to pause when presented with certain information this week that could cause a immediate triggering response. So let's say, I don't know, for instance, I go out into the parking lot and it's apparent that somebody smashed into the side of my car and, it's all dinged up or whatever. Immediate response, probably gonna cuss and yell and, oh my gosh, why me? But it will be really important to take a breather, to try to ground yourself in that present moment and try to assess what everything that's going on in that situation. It might be very easy to become laser focused on like all of the things that are wrong on the vehicle. Like I see the dent and I see da 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 da. But if we just pause and just, okay, let's go back. How long was this car in this parking lot? And then, okay, and if I just kind of look around and I notice that the car right across from me has damage on it, the same kind of damage that would have happened if they would have run into my vehicle. So perhaps this is the vehicle. So just, being more aware of all the other things that are going on in the environment other than just the immediate problem at hand, because you might gather more information on what's going on. You might then also see that the person who owns that vehicle is coming out and saying, oh, hey, I didn't, I was waiting for you to come out because I do want to apologize. I hit your car. Hey, let's exchange some insurance information or, whatever it is. And then that way, but if we were to just gotten angry and started screaming and then just got in our vehicle and drove away, we would have missed that opportunity to allow the other person to apologize and, and actually sort out what's going on. But we need to be calm and collected for that. So it's not to say that we should deny our emotions, that yes, we might be angry in a situation like that. We might be shocked in a situation like that. But we can go in and listen to those emotions, but also take assessment of what's going on around us as well. So it's just being keenly aware of all of the things, trying to broaden our perspective, when one of these things, might be triggering for us this week. So I'm not trying to say that somebody's vehicle is going to get hit this week, but I'm trying to say something like that, where it kind of just like blindsides you. It's like out of the blue and it's like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I know sometimes we like to be laser focused, tunnel vision, just on like, that's bad. What happened? Oh my gosh. But it's like, okay, let's take a step back. Woo! Let's just breathe for a moment. Okay, so let's walk backwards. Where was I before this began? What may have led up to this, or, this thing, or this situation, or this thing with this person? Let's look at everything that's involved, and so that we can make more rational judgments, so we can, make more rational decisions, ones that are more present, instead of perhaps hearkening back to something in the past, and we're reacting from something in the past that's being triggered by something in the present, or perhaps it's something that we feel is affecting our future, and so again, we're reacting from the future or from the past instead of what is going on right here in the present, and just being with that. So again, this might not be for everyone, but it's just a little heads up. And I think it's just maybe good for, not maybe just this week, but just in general, that, when we get thrown out of left field with certain things, comes out of nowhere, that you, me, we're all human. We tend to just kind of like focus in on the thing, but it is really good for all of us to try to just take a step back for just a second. Just okay, what would be the best action moving forward right now? Do I need to call somebody right now? Do I need to look around, at the whole situation right now? Maybe I could tap in with my intuition right now, instead of just my logic brain, or maybe I can, balance the two. But just being able to take a breather this week, just grounding yourself, take a breather for whatever thing might pop up that was quite unexpected this upcoming week. Okay. Hey, our buddy John is here. What's up? Okay, so let's take a look at that oracle card, and we have bay leaves, and it says abundance. Okay. All right. So what I'm getting with that in relation to the 3 swords cards that we pulled right here, is for some people, again, maybe not for all of us, we all got different things going on in our lives. But it could be directly related to things that we've been trying to bring in. Perhaps it could be related to our finances. It could be related to the amount of food in our pantry. It could be, things like that, things that make us feel full and abundant. Perhaps our circle of friends. Maybe there is a trip that somebody's planning on going on this week, and then, I don't know, all 4 of your friends cancel at the last minute, and it's like, oh, so we could, look at the situation like, oh my gosh, I was so excited for this trip, and my friends have canceled, and now I'm very angry at my friends, and it's we have this laser focus. But if we just like take a step back and a breather, maybe use our intuition, tap in, maybe it really was not feasible for all of our friends to come together at that time, and perhaps there's a reason that all of our friends couldn't come together at that time. Perhaps a 4D reason or a 5D reason, not just a 3D reason. Remember, as they say, as above, so below, as within, so without. So perhaps it was a calling for you to go on vacation on your own. Maybe this is going to be a little solo journey, and there's a lot of fun and things that could happen as a result of that. But if we get stuck in our head and just get angry with our friends and angry at the situation, like, now I can't go on vacation at all, then we might miss out on an opportunity to actually have a solo vacation and learn a lot about ourselves, and perhaps build our self-confidence, and help us to learn to be, happy and joyful just being with ourselves sometimes. So, again, just change of perspective, just take a moment to breathe, ground, and reassess what is going on. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to pull from the guidebook if there was any special recipe or something that we could use with bay leaves, because like I said, that guidebook is pretty fun. So let's take a look here. All right, let's find our bay leaves. Okay. Recommended recipe. Ooh, shampoo for silky hair, dandruff, itchy scalp, and lice. Take a cup of spring water if possible. Well water if you got it. Put in a pan and bring to a boil. Add the dried bay leaves and simmer for a couple of minutes. Strain the mixture, remove the bay leaves, and leave to cool. Once cooled, add 1/3 cup of Castile soap, jojoba oil, and approximately 20 to 26 drops of essential oil of your choice. Put into a storage bottle, shake before use. I will say that I didn't create a shampoo, but I created a kind of hair rinse with bay leaves before, and it is like super cleansing, like where you get like the squeaky clean hair. Yeah, it's really good. And then I didn't think to add the jojoba oil, but I did add vitamin E oil. Man, it was super, super silky. And then the essential oil that I used was gardenia. Gardenia and bay leaf actually smells really good together, but I know you guys all have your different essential oils. Ooh, you know what? That gives me an idea. I do have an essential oils deck. Let's pull an essential oil that might go well with that bay leaf shampoo recipe. Okay, I gotcha. And by the way, my essential oil healing deck looks just like this. And this is by Michelle Shofro Cook, DNM, PhD. All right. Let's see what essential oil could accompany our bay leaves and our jojoba oil and Castile soap in a nice silky shampoo, really massaging that crown chakra, you know? Okay. Ooh, basil, another great cleanser. Basil and bay leaf. Ooh, that might be really good together. But for basil, it says restores the mind, body, and spirit. That might be really nice. Ooh, if you were going to do like a little detox shower, just like washing away, maybe do a little spa day for yourself. All right, that will be fun. Maybe I'll create that later on. We'll see. Okay, you guys, on that note, so if anybody else would like to share what you guys are getting for this week. Oh, hey, Kayla is here. And she says, happy Sunday. John said, ooh, baby. Nice. I love it. Ooh, you could call it the baby shampoo. Eh? All right. So we have our cafe. Okay. So for this next section, this is what you guys voted on in the poll this past week. So my patrons, my YouTube members, and my subscribers wanted to have a personalized herb card, an herbal medicine card pulled for them. So I'm going to put these cards away and I'm going to get one of my Nature's Pharmacy cards because technically that's not an oracle deck, or at least it wasn't created to be an oracle deck, but I use it as such. As you can use any cards for any type of divination. You know, your divination is your divination. Some people divine with the clouds, with rocks on the ground, with fire, with smoke. You can access your intuition in a variety of ways. Okay, so this Nature's Pharmacy deck, this is created from the New York Botanical Garden group, actually. So it was designed by Eliza F. Mayo. And if I can find anything else in here. Yeah, basically just coming from the Botanical Garden. So the cards look just like this. I love kind of the like tea stained type cards, you know, where they look a bit old, a bit worn. I have a thing for things that are like worn and loved looking, like especially like I love when I get new decks, but I also love when years down the road, like you can just tell that they've been well loved, well shuffled. They're kind of like starting to turn like a little yellowish around the corners. And I don't know, I like that. I love old and loved, you know? And anyway, so on the backs of these cards, it actually has information on that plant. But I would also like to see if the plant exists in this herbal book to give you a little bit more information on perhaps a medicinal use. But of course, you know, there are witchy uses for it as well, and everybody's practice is different. So however you would like to incorporate it in your magical practice is totally up to you. But if anyone in the chat today would like me to pull them an herb card, and then we can see kind of what herbal medicine is for you, then go ahead and put a plant emoji. If you don't have access to emojis because you're on the computer or something like that, just type the word plant in all caps. So all caps. So yeah, so either place a plant emoji, could be a flower, could be leaves, or just say plant, all caps. And I will pull you a card from the Nature's Pharmacy. I'll read for what is on the back, and then I'll also try to find that same plant or that same herb in Rondale's Illustrated Encyclopedia of Herbs, just to see if I can give you a little bit more info. All righty. So excellent. John has a palm tree, and then Kayla has a nice fern. All right. All right, so let's pull one for our buddy John first. Let's see what plant medicine is wanting to work with John. So remember, just like with anything, if you don't have this particular plant, or like when we're sometimes working with crystals, if you don't have that particular crystal, it doesn't mean that you can't work with this energy. Energy is energy, which means that it is free. It's all over the place. Energy surrounds us all the time. So all we have to do is set the intention. We might have to go into a meditation, however it is that you really connect to your own energy. Set the intention to connect to that plant ally, or to connect to that crystal, or to connect to, whatever god or goddess. We tap into it, we connect to it, and then we can create kind of a working relationship with it. If you want the physical item, that's cool too. But I always encourage people to not feel like they can't work with something just because they don't have the physical item in front of them. Energy is abundant. It's everywhere. And I know that these plants want to work with us just as we want to work with them. So it's very good to try to create that working relationship. What does it want to learn from you? Just as much as you're like, okay, I want to learn something from you. It's like, well, I want to learn from you too. So, okay, John, we have white willow. And it says that its origin is from Europe to Central Asia. White willow, a large tree of waterways and wetwoods, has a strong trunk with deeply fissured gray bark and narrow light green leaves. White willow and other willow species have been used since classical antiquity as cooling herbs in the reduction of fever and relief of pain. Willow bark is a source of salicin or other compounds that are among the most effective pain relievers ever discovered. Salicin was first isolated from willow species in the 19th century. Salicylic acid was also isolated in 1839, not from willow, but from meadowsweet, an herbaceous plant that grows in similar habitats. While the drug had great benefits, it caused gastric discomfort in many users. In 1899, a gentler synthetic derivative, acetylsalicylic acid, was named aspirin, combining the A for acetyl and sprin from spiraea, the genus from which it was first isolated. Okay, so it says the current use, aspirin, and analgesic and fever reducer, is now the most commonly used drug in the world. Okay, so let's see if we can find a little bit more about white willow bark. I know that sometimes within aftershaves and certain like men's shaving stuff, I know that there's a little bit of white willow bark in there. I know because I've created some like aftershaves for various people, like for like Christmas gifts and stuff like that. And I'm always like looking at the ingredients of things, and I'm like, hey, I know that herb. Okay, so let's look up white willow bark in here. Let's see if it's in here. White willow, white willow. Oh, willow. Take the sword, willow. Okay. Willow, willow, willow. H. Okay. It may not have white willow in here. Well, that's sad. Do. RSTUVW. Oh, no, wait. Willow. Okay, so 505. You got it. Let's get in there. Okay. All right. Sweet. Let's see. Okay, so medicinally, okay, so it does talk a little bit about aspirin in here. It says, today Americans take aspirin far more readily than their ancestors could down a tea of willow bark. But they love the willow in the landscape as much as Washington and Madison did. Ooh, interesting. So medicinally, willow bark is used by herbalists as an anodyne, antipyretic, astringent, detergent, tonic, antipyretic, and antiseptic. It is used for headache, neuralgia, hay fever, fever, and pain and inflammation of joints, just like aspirin. And Wiener's herbalist Michael Wiener recommended a decoction of 1 teaspoon of white willow bark slowly boiled in 1.5 pints of water in a covered container for 30 minutes. After slowly cooling, it should be drunk a mouthful or tablespoon at a time, as needed to promote sweating in chills and fever. Interesting. Ooh, there's also the cosmetic that you could use with it. Decoctions of white willow bark are used in facial lotions and in aftershaves and in herbal baths for their astringent properties. All right, very cool. White willow bark. And so again, you know, if you wanted to meditate with it, see if you wanted how it would like to work with you, or incorporate it into a magical practice. White willow bark is freaking amazeballs. Okay, so we had Kayla, I believe, next. Yes, and then our friend Duality Tales. John says, I was very connected to this plant in my youth. It's quite watery. Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. So that's cool. It's kind of coming back around. It's like, hey, John, don't forget me. Let's like work again. I've always wanted a willow wand. Oh, dude, that would be freaking magical. That would be really awesome. Very healing wand for a lot of healing work to do. Very cool. All right. Let's see. Kayla. Okie dokie. Let's pull a card for Kayla. What plant would like to work with her? Again, you don't need the physical plant. Just connect to its energy. Create a little working relationship. Open up a dialogue. Have a little communication. You're very welcome, John. Okay. Kayla has onion. I love onions. Mostly like green onions, but okay, onion. Origin, Mediterranean. By classical times, the onion was already long cultivated as food, or as both a food and a medicine. Onions are mentioned in Chaldean, Egyptian, and Greek sources. In Greco-Roman medicine, the juice was used to treat the ears and eyes. In ancient Egypt, onions were used in mummification. Bulbs were placed in the ears, near the eyes, or in the thorax or pelvis. According to dietary regimens prescribed in medieval health handbooks, onions were very warm in nature. Thus, they were recommended for eating in wintertime and thought good for people with cold temperaments, elderly people, and people living in northern regions. Their diuretic and expectorant properties were also recognized. Current uses, onions are a flavorful ingredient in many of the world's cuisines. Yay! All right, well, let's see if we have onion in here for Kayla. Okay, let's find onion. L-M-N-O-P. There we are, onion. 400, baby. Let's see. All right, onion. Excellent. Ooh, they got a lot on onion here. Okay, so let's take a look at what it says for medicinal. As a medicine, Allium cepa contains smaller doses of garlic's antibacterial and antifungal components. A paste of onions is said to prevent infection in wounds and burns. Other extracts inhibit blood clotting and seem to reduce cholesterol levels in people who eat high-fat diets. Experiments have shown that rats injected with an onion extract had lower blood pressure, and recent research suggests that onions increase the production of high-density lipoproteins, which in turn are believed to help clear the arteries of fatty deposits. In addition to these documented benefits, onions boast a host of unproven folkloric applications: to cure baldness, rub a little onion juice on your head and lie out in the sun; to treat burns, lay slices of salted onion on them; to ease freckles, mix onion juice with vinegar and rub on freckles, age spots, or warts. So, according to our ancestors. Let's see if there was anything. Ooh, okay, for craft. Interesting. It says the flowers of leeks, chives, and garlic chives can be dyed for use in everlasting arrangements. Very interesting. And then it talks about the dye. Dyes made from onion skins are famous. Yellows, oranges, and browns can be produced in wool depending on the mordant used and whether yellow or red onion skins are employed. Interesting. I like dyeing things. That's so cool. All right. Well, Kayla, maybe you would like to incorporate a little bit of onion into your day today. Perhaps it could be a leek. It could be green onions. Could be yellow, red, white onions. Maybe do onion rings. Delicious. But yeah, perhaps meditate or just sit with onion today and see in what ways it would like to work with you and just create that open dialogue. Very cool. Kayla says, I love onions. Hey, nice. Okay. All right. So then we have our buddy Duality Tales. All right. Let's see what plant/herb companion would like to work with you. Remember, again, you don't need the physical plant. Just tap into its energy and just create that open communication. All right. Oh, hey, what's up? This was the plant I was talking about earlier. So Duality Tales, maybe I was thinking of you. Maybe I was tapping into your energy. Oh, you're very welcome, Kayla. This is feverfew. I totally mentioned that at the beginning of this live chat. Okay, so feverfew, it comes from the southeastern Europe to the Caucasus Mountains. Hey, it says, since at least the 1st century, this small aromatic plant with white daisy flowers has been used to treat headache and fever. The name is a corruption of the Latin word febrifuga in reference to the plant's value in driving off fever. Traditionally, it was planted around houses to ward off both disease and evil. Pungent and bitter smelling, feverfew is said to be repugnant to bees. Famed 16th century English herbalist John Gerard recommended its use to cure ague, or chills and fever. It has also been used for centuries as a tonic for nervous complaints and arthritis. The current uses: feverfew is currently being studied and shows much promise in the relief of migraine headaches and arthritic pain. All right, so I know that feverfew is in here because I literally saw it before I came into this live chat. So, all right, Duality Tales, let's find feverfew and see if we can gather any more medicinal information for you. But remember, you guys don't have to use these medicinally. You can use them in your magical practice as well. Okay, so 193, 193. There we are. Feverfew. Okay. Medicinally, feverfew. In 1978, scientists suggested in The Lancet, a British medical journal, that since feverfew has long been used against both migraines and arthritis, it might share properties with aspirin. 2 years later, The Lancet confirmed this educated guess with results from a subsequent study. In 1985, the British Medical Journal reported yet another study with findings that demonstrated that feverfew helps alleviate the pain of migraines. Researchers speculate that substances in the plant appear to make smooth muscle cells less responsive to body chemicals that trigger migraine muscle spasms. These findings don't suggest that migraine sufferers can toss away their conventional drugs, but they do show that feverfew does help some sufferers. If you take feverfew by eating the leaves, it should be in very small doses, from 50 to 60 milligrams, which is 3 or 4 of the little feverfew leaves each day, says Varro Tyler, PhD, Dean of the School of Pharmacy, Nursing, and Health Sciences at Purdue University. Commercial preparations, capsules for example, are hard to find, but some botanical wholesalers list them. To hide the bitter taste characteristic of the herb, some migraine sufferers mix the leaves into foods. Interesting. Um, it says you can also use it as a dye. The fresh leaves and stems produce a greenish yellow dye and wool mordinated with chrome. Interesting. All right. Yay, feverfew. Take away that migraine. And good for arthritis sufferers as well. Maybe wanting to kind of experiment with that a little bit. All righty. So, you know what? I think I want to pull a card for me too while we're on here. Let's see what little herb would like to work with me. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Oh, hey, I recognize the leaves on this plant. Duality Tale says, ooh, I've never heard of it before. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. This is stinging nettle. And actually, I love to use stinging nettle. And I used to have kind of a love-hate relationship with it when I was a little kid because stinging nettle just kind of grew in my backyard. And so it wasn't a problem when I wore like shoes and socks, but I was mostly out in my flip-flops or I'd be running around barefoot in my backyard. And so, stinging nettle, why they call it stinging is because the little hairs on the leaves kind of create an irritative effects, when it is rubbed against your skin. And that's just part of the plant's defense, so it doesn't get stepped on, so it doesn't get messed with. However, when you boil the leaves, it takes away all of that stinging property. So it is okay to take it in teas and things like that. But of course, you have to boil it first. You could even dry the leaves first if you wish. But I love using stinging nettle. I find that for me personally, it's really good for anti-inflammatory, anything. If I've got a headache, if I don't feel so well, if, maybe my stomach's a little upset or, my fingers feel swollen, like stinging nettle. All around feels good. But also, magically speaking, stinging nettle is good at like protection spells and warding things off. But anyway, so let's take a look at stinging nettle. And it says its origin is Europe and Asia, although found here in the States now. This inconspicuous perennial plant with serrated leaves and clusters of greenish flowers calls attention to itself as soon as someone brushes against it. Tiny stinging hairs cause a painful burning sensation and reddening of the skin on contact. Nettles can be a nutritious food. They lose their sting when cooked. A medicine and a fiber plant, and are frequently found growing near places of human habitation. Roman soldiers used stinging nettle to chafe their limbs in cold climates. The irritation produced a feeling of warmth. The plant has been used to make herb beer and takes its place in folk medicine as an astringent, a tonic, and a diuretic. The fresh juice, when rubbed on the scalp, was thought to grow hair. Actually, it's really good at stimulating hair growth. So stinging nettle, sometimes, if you want to use rosemary or basil kind of all mixed in and use it as like a hair rinse, or if you just want to create like a hair oil and go out and sit in the sun and let it like really penetrate, it's really good for that. I forgot that, I've used it for that too. Okay, so current uses. Nettles can be cooked as a vegetable or made into a delicious soup. Stem fibers can be woven like flax or hemp to make cloth and rope. Hey! Okay, so let's look up a stinging nettle in this book here. Nettle. Okay, let's get to the S's. N-O-N-O-P, Q-R-S. Okay. It's either going to be under nettle or stinging nettle. So let's take a looky. Okay, so it's under stinging nettle. So 473. Okay. Medicinal stinging nettle. The plant, collected before flowering and made into tea, has been used to treat asthma. Fresh nettle juice was rubbed into the scalp to make the hair grow, a custom that may be traced to the belief that plants were marked with clues to their medicinal virtues. A hairy plant was thought to be good for promoting hair growth. But although the sting might make someone's hair stand on end, there's no evidence that nettle juice will make it grow more profusely. Nettles are high in vitamin C, which may account for their centuries old reputation as a spring tonic. Okay, cosmetically, stinging nettles stimulate the skin and improve circulation. Use them in herbal baths, which I have before. Very nice. And you can use it as a dye as well. The above ground portion of the plant makes a green dye while the roots create a yellow shade. Very interesting. Ooh, and then culinary. In case I wanted to add it into something. Stinging nettles offer vitamins to anyone brave or careful enough to collect and eat them. Remember, you got to cook them first. Takes all the sting out. The young shoots won't sting, and some herb fanciers consume them raw, tossed into a lettuce salad. Okay, well, those people, I don't know, eating it raw. I'm not sure. The greens can be cooked much like kale or spinach. Once boiled, the leaves lose their sting. A tea from the leaves has been used to curdle milk in making cheese. Hey, who knew? All righty. Hey, Peg is here. Says, hola, peeps. It's been a minute. Good to see you all. It has been a hot minute. It is good to see you again, my friend. All right. Well, as I have a little bit more tea or cafe, let's dive into super chats and super stickers. So for people who don't know what that is, maybe are watching the replay and they're trying to figure out what that is. That's this donation readings. So if there were people that I pulled a herbal medicine card for, maybe we could do a super chat and super sticker, just kind of tapping in more intuitively, a message from that plant. Or, it could be for anything. If you have a burning question about something, we could do that, pull a card for something else. But I think that would be fun too. Like, let's say with Duality Tales, we pulled Feverfew, right? So if we pulled Feverfew, we could actually tap in and see what Feverfew would like to say to you. But I think it's really fun to kind of just really get to know all of the different energies that have incarnated here on Earth, with our trees and plants and animals and rocks and, even the soil beneath our feet. I'm always trying to find ways to not only use it in the 3D sense, and create that working relationship, but also to connect with it energetically, because we find ourselves, or at least this is my belief, I believe that we find ourselves in certain places because it's where our soul is pulling us, either for lessons or for expansion, consciousness growth, a combination of everything, everything's a layer. And so, like say where I'm sitting right now, the dirt beneath my feet right here is different than the dirt that's, even though my hill is not too far away from here. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. The dirt is different. The soil is different up there. So there's, I feel like a different energetic message, different things to learn, just even based on the soil. So it's good to connect with it. The trees here, obviously different than the trees that surround my property. And it's good to connect with them too. Each of them have different messages. And there's a reason, I am here to connect with these trees, and a reason, that I also have my property and to connect with those trees as well. So, and the same for all the animals. Let's see. John says, I believe you just beat singing nettle to remove the sting. I mean, like gentle flog a counter or table with them. But it would have been a long time ago that I heard this, so I could be wrong. No, that sounds familiar. Because my mom, I forget how my mom used stinging nettle. And this is like a long time ago, so I must have been very young. But I do remember something about her mashing them to kind of get the sting out. So it was something like that. But yeah, that does jog my memory about it. Something about mashing them to get the sting out. And I think she was using it. She was using it on. I must have cut myself or bruised myself or something, and I think she was using nettle, almost like a poultice. But I don't remember how. But yeah, that. Maybe something for me to meditate on. All right, Duality Tales. Hey, so let me know what your question is, or if you would like to just kind of have me tap into your plant, your herb, and see what your herb has to say, just let me know. All right, so let me put my little Nature's Pharmacy cards back in here so they don't blow away. Not that it's uber windy, but you know. Okay, and I want to use my Herb Crafter's Tarot for these card pulls because this is my favorite herbal deck next to the Nature Pharmacy. All right, and then we have our buddy John. Yay! I would love to pull a card for you as well. So again, you guys just let me know if there's a particular question you have, or if you just want me to tap into the plant itself and see what message it has for you. Okay, so Duality would like a card on Feverfew. Will do. And Lily is here. What's up? All right, so before I pull a card, Duality Tales, I'm just going to tap into your energy and tap into Feverfew's energy. Okay, so before I even pull a card, Feverfew was showing me that you've been, perhaps this is subconscious, taking a lot on in terms of other people's energy in an attempt to aid certain situations. So let's say, for instance, couple people in your family aren't feeling well. And of course, we don't like to see people not feeling well. We want people to, feel good. And so we might feel kind of saddened if they don't feel so good. So inadvertently, subconsciously, you might be taking on some of their energy in an attempt to help make them feel better. So even though this might not be conscious, you might just be making them some tea. And is there anything else I can get you? Perhaps another blanket? Do you want me to make you some toast? Something like that. But on an energetic level, it seems like because you are so concerned about their well-being, that your energy is trying to pull some of what you perceive as like their sickness energy or their negative energy away, just so that they feel better. I was just kind of giving an example as like a general example. I'm not saying that is exactly what's happening, that somebody's sick, but it could also be like a situation where it might just be an uncomfortable situation. So in a way to make the situation feel more comfortable is trying to kind of soak up some of that negative energy or what is perceived as negative energy or uncomfortable energy. And so Feverfew says you're kind of like a little energetic sponge. You kind of like take from here, and sometimes it might even be off of strangers, people that you see in the store, and it might be like, oh, I feel kind of bad for that person, but you make such a quick energetic connection because I do feel that you're very, what's the term I'm looking for? Not really. I mean, I do feel that you are empathic, but more like an energy healer. And so just at this kind of subconscious level, kind of reaching out energetically to that person, say, hey, I'm trying to like help you feel a better person on the street who I don't know, and try to make my family feel better, try to make this situation feel better. And so Feverfew says you get kind of like clogged up with a lot of energies that aren't your own, and you may feel like it is your own energy, like, oh, it's just me, and sometimes I get headaches, or sometimes I get aches and pains, or sometimes I don't feel so good. But really, it's because you're overloaded with a lot of people's other energy, is what Feverfew is trying to say. So let's see if we can find a solution to that, and maybe something else that Feverfew would like to share with you. So let's pull a card. Okay, we have the Three of Fire. And didn't you, let me scroll back, but I believe you pulled some cards at the very beginning of this chat and you got the Three of Wands. And that's what this card is. It's the Three of Wands, like literally. Okay. So this is calendula, which again is another wonderful herb that I like to use in almost everything, but usually like around like a Beltane or like summertime Litha, just like that fiery energy. But let's bring it back to Feverfew and let's see what Feverfew has to say. Okay, so let's tap in. Ah, okay. Okay. So feverfew says that it kind of it's learning to not soak up energy kind of in the way that you are soaking up energy. So feverfew says, oftentimes, people are using me for their take away their aches and pains, their arthritis, their migraines. And so it's like, I'm always like on the front lines. It's like, but I never really sit, this is the plant kind of talking and saying, I never really just sit to, see if I want to be used in that way with that person. Am I making myself too available for the people around me to utilize me? Could I make myself more hidden at times? Or do I just make myself available all the time, just at the whims of anyone and everyone who would like to use me as a plant? So feverfew is just asking that if you two can work together, it's like if you can work on, going inwards, kind of sitting with your energy and trying to see like how perhaps sometimes the ego portion of yourself, really feeling bad about somebody and really kind of pulling in their energy, but also the energetic healing portion of you, AKA your soul, also reaching out, and trying to like pull in energy in an attempt to help others feel better, or situations, or even trees and plants, animals to feel better. How can we balance that energy? And feverfew says, so as you learn, I'll learn too, because feverfew says, sometimes I'm just proudly out there in the forest. I'm just in people's gardens and I'm like, hey, look at me, because I love what I do. I love making people feel better. But at the same time, I disregard my own energy and, how I could be helping some of the plants that surround me, some of the trees that surround me, not just humans. So if they're saying, if you can work on creating energetic boundaries, not boundaries saying that you don't want to help people. That's quite the opposite. It's protecting your energy so that you can be of more help to people. And so feverfew says, then I can learn too. Like, let's learn together. Let's learn about energetic boundaries. Let's learn about when we might inadvertently be soaking up somebody else's energy, and unknowingly we might think that it's actually just our energy when actually it's somebody else's. So if we can work together, maybe we can be more cognizant about that. Maybe we can be more present with it, and we can actually feel better, in our day to day while we're helping other people. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Duality Tales. Duality Tales says, wow, that really resonates. I'm actually a Reiki healer as well. No way. All right, dude, you're an energy healer. That's awesome. Let's see. Let's go back here. Crystal says, have you ever gotten in touch with the spirit of cannabis? I have, actually. I did a video channeling Miss Mary Jane. So you might want to go check that one out. I believe there's also been past live chats where we've kind of connected to the energy of that plant and kind of figured out what messages it had at that particular time. But I think the channeling video, like Kayla suggested, it's a really good one. A lot of food for thought. All right, and then Kayla would also like a message from the onions. Will do. Let's go back here. Do 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 do. So we have Duality Tales, we got our buddy John, and then, okay, so then we have Kayla. John says, ever since you read how other people's names come across energetically to spirit, I've been obsessed. If you wouldn't mind tapping in for me, thank you. My middle name of Ralph. Okay, will do. Let me just go back up here. Okie dokie. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. All right. And Duality Tales says, a beautiful message and it fully makes sense. Thank you so much for clarifying for me. You are very welcome, my friend. All right. So John, energetically, let's tap in to your middle name, Ralph. Okay. So let's do it. Ooh, now that the sun's coming out, it's getting kind of warm. Let me put my little blankie there. Whew. I'm not complaining though. Keep the sunshine a coming. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So, John, I just want to share kind of what I see in terms of the frequency of that name, like the vibration of that name, Ralph. Um, and I was seeing like almost like somebody behind a mountain, like more like the cutout of a mountain, like if it was being used on stage for a play. Um, and the energy of Ralph kind of standing behind this mountain, kind of observing kind of what's going on the stage. But like I just see like the little fingers and the nose, I'm observing the moment somebody on the stage sees him. He's like, oh. No, no, no! I'm just listening. I'm just observing. I don't really mean to get involved. I just want to see what you guys are doing. I want to learn what you from you guys. I don't want to really take action. I don't want to be center stage. I don't want to be in front of everybody. But I do want to feel safe behind my little cutout mountain. And I want people to know I'm here. I just want them to know that I'm just observing. I'm just looking and I'm just observing report. But yeah, that's kind of like just the energy I see first. And it seems like when Ralph feels safe enough, like if the people on the stage saying, it's okay, Ralph, like we want your opinion on something because you're such a keen observer, because you're very good at listening and watching and really taking everything in, using your intuition. We value your opinion. And it's okay to come out from behind your little paper cutout mountain, your cardboard cutout mountain. And so it's like this kind of very hesitant Ralph kind of coming out like, okay, all right, well, it's like only until Ralph feels safe will he come out and express his point of view, his opinion. And then, but not to the point where Ralph feels like he's overstayed his welcome. Then it's like, okay, well, I'm happy to help. I'm going back behind my little cutout mountain. So this was very, very interesting for me to see that. But we'll pull a card as well. John says, I meant my middle name is Ralph. As Ralph off, it makes a difference for my whole name, but I'm happy with this. Okay. So let's see also what we can gather from Ralph, the middle name. And that's interesting, because it being in the middle, that makes sense too, because you have, John, and then you have your surname, right? But somewhere in the middle, Ralph is just like observing, like observing what John, who is more of it's a stronger type energy, not stronger. How do I want to put that? Not one that's hiding behind a paper cut mountain or a paper cutout mountain, kind of like Ralph is, but more just like I'm observing what John is doing. I'm observing what the surname is doing, and I'm just kind of taking it all in. And when I feel safe, I'll offer up my opinion, and then I go back behind my mountain. Okay. So let's pull a card. Ooh, we have the Lovers, Hawthorne. Where did the sun go? I literally took off my blanket because it was getting hot. Make up your mind. Okay, so Hawthorne, the Lovers. Okay, so it feels like the energy of John and the energy of Ralph, and also the energy of your surname, are balanced out really well, actually, with Ralph's energy. If it were, let's say, let me see if I can think of another name that is an equal vibration to John. David. Okay. So let's say your middle name was David. If you were John David Gross, it takes away some of that perspective where it's more of a ego or logic, go. I only take in what my five senses are showing me. I have a harder time seeing everything that's going on in the picture. I'm not trying to diss any Davids out there, by the way. I'm just saying when a lot of these very like strong names, strong energetically names kind of come together in one person's name, first, middle, and last. That it creates a very strong personality, which may not feel so balanced, but it does feel balanced with Ralph because you have John taking the lead, but then you have Ralph back there who's also helping John out with his intuition and observing everything that his five senses can't capture. And then bringing with that, your surname, your, Gross, which then is bringing in, everything that the knowledge of your ancestors, basically. So you have your ancestral heritage, you have John taking the lead, and you have Ralph being the observer. And when he feels like he has some good stuff, he'll share it with John. John will share it with his perspective, if that makes sense. John said, first and last are definitely more forward facing. 11-11. Hey. Yes, 1-1-1-1. But yeah, I definitely get that. John is like, we're going this way, and then the last name, your ancestral name, is like, all right, we're just going with it. But Ralph's a little bit more pulled back, and it's like not so hasty to make decisions, not so hasty to be in the lead, but would like to take in all the information and then helps John gather more intel so that you can make more well-rounded and clearer decisions. So I think you have a really well-balanced name. So I love having Ralph as your middle name. That's pretty cool. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, John, for allowing me to tap in with that. That is freaking amazing balls. All right, and so then we had Kayla, and Kayla was looking for a message from the onions. All right. That just reminded me of, I don't know if it still exists, but there was this thing on the internet. It would be like false. Everybody knew it was false. It would create like false stories, and it was called The Onion. But the stories were kind of funny. It would be like false news, like fake news, but everybody knew that it's fake news on purpose. Like they do it for a good laugh. But I liked reading The Onion back in the day. This is good cafe. Okay, our friend the onion. Let's see. Okay, so I know that it's kind of like maybe the number one thing that a lot of people think of when they think of onions is how they make you cry. Maybe not everybody, but sometimes when we're cutting onions, especially if it's a very fresh onion, sometimes old onions won't do this, but if the onion's really fresh, it's like you can't help it. It's like it irritates the eyes. You're just crying. You're like, oh my gosh, this was gonna be so delicious. And I used to, I guess I still could if I could find my snowboarding goggles, but like a dork, I'd wear my snowboarding goggles in the kitchen if I knew I was going to be cutting a fresh onion, because if I'm wearing my goggles, whatever's in the onion will not make me cry. But anyway, that all aside, that is the first thing that came to mind was like, you're cutting an onion, but I see you crying, but like the onion is saying that oftentimes you put some of your emotions, some of your more difficult emotions aside for others, because you feel like if you're in what you perceive as a negative emotion, like you're upset, you're sad, you're crying, you feel like that is a burden on other people sometimes, maybe especially with the people that you find closest to you. Maybe sometimes with your very, very like close, trusted companions, you feel like it's safe to cry and safe to kind of express those emotions. But with others, it feels like you hold back. If you're wanting to cry in a situation or you're angry in a situation, you might feel like, oh, well, that's just going to make the situation more difficult. I don't want to add these negative emotions into here. I'd better just put on like a strong face. I'll just put on a smile and hopefully that'll make everyone feel better. But Onion's saying, think of the release, and Onion's like, why are people so afraid to cry? It's like, that's why I am the way I am. I force people to cry because that is something that, depending on the part of the world that we live in, a lot of people hold in their tears because they're afraid that, it might make other people feel bad. It might, they feel like it makes them look weak, something like that. And Onion's like, it's just an emotion like anything else, like joy, laughter, it's just an emotion, sadness and anger and, things like that, and sorrow. And so Onion's saying what the strong thing to do is actually to embrace those emotions. If there's something where you're like, no, I'm gonna fight those tears. I'm not crying. I don't want to make people feel sorry for me, or I don't want them to feel like they should come comfort me. This is, but you love to comfort people. You love to make people feel better. You don't think poorly of people because they cry or they get upset. Like, you're right there for them. It says, but that's what people who are service to others love to do. And you're a very service to others person. So allow the people that surround you who are also service to others, let them have that opportunity to be there for you. It makes them feel good. So let those tears out, let that anger out, let those emotions out. And, you might possibly gain a new perspective because you're being very open and raw and honest with them, so they can assess how you're feeling and they can offer some suggestions. They make them feel really good. And, maybe it's been a long time since they've had a good cry and they say, hey, you know what? Kayla feels, she's a-okay with her emotions. She can show a wide variety from happy to sad. And it's like, that gives me permission. She is my permission slip to also let loose. So who knows, maybe when the tears come out with you, everybody has a nice happy cry. And think about how you feel afterwards. Sometimes we feel just so much better. Sometimes we feel really tired and we might take a nap, but then afterwards we feel really good. So Onion's coming in with like, it is time for a nice, good cry, release. And it's okay to do it around the people that you love. They don't think less of you. In fact, it's the opposite. They think more of you, because that's something that a lot of humans in particular have trouble doing, is expressing what they see as negative emotions. And so you are allowing them to also be expressive in that way. Okay, so let's pull a card though, and kind of get maybe clarification, confirmation. Ooh, we have the Wheel of Fortune, and this is the kitchen garden. And I love that, kind of coming full circle. And so it's kind of like this realization that, yeah, I do like helping other people. And I do like being there for people who I see are in distress. And, I do love listening to other people be open and honest, because I want to be there for them. I want to offer my suggestions and my perspective. So in knowing that that's how it makes you feel and how much that lights you up, allow other people to do the same. To deny that is to deny them from doing something that they truly want to do for you. So Onion's like, you know what? If you're gonna make something today, maybe make it with Onion and let yourself have a nice cry in the kitchen. It's okay if at first the tears are because of me, but think about what it's really coming from, because remember, everything kind of lines up for a reason. The 3D, the 4D, the 5D, and so on and so forth. So sure, the 3D reason is I'm crying because I'm cutting onions, but the 4D, 5D reason, it could be, well, it's just that I have so much in me right now and I just need to get it out. So in the 3D, I'm cutting an onion to allow myself the permission to just cry and let it go. Kayla says, that's true. I can only cry in front of my boyfriend. I agree. I need to be more open about my tears and things. It does feel good to cry. Thank you, Onion. I have a feeling Onion would say this. Hey, man, onions, they get a bad rap, but I think they're very cathartic and delicious. All right. So I believe that is all of our friends for our super chats and super stickers, which, by the way, thank you guys for letting me read for you. I mean, pulling in messages from our plant allies, and then also diving into the energy of names, which I find truly fascinating. Kayla, you're very welcome. Okay, so I would like to actually, since we're working so much with plants, Before we do our channeled guided meditation, let's figure out kind of the direction this guided meditation is going to take us. So let's pull from a different deck. Ooh, all the birdies are coming. They must have found the all the bird seed I left out. Okay, it's getting very warm, so okay, I would like to pull the magical from the magical herb oracle, and let's see what direction, what healing we need most, or what do we need most to focus on during this channel guided meditation. And of course, I'll try to channel from this particular plant to just help guide us. Oh, la campagne. Progress, or as some people say, progress. Progress. Okay. And you know what? I haven't actually worked with that plant very much. La campagne. Interesting. You know what? I wonder if it's in this book. Maybe we can get a little bit more information. Of course, I know I could look in that guidebook, but I want to see if it's in here. Okay, so campaign. Okay, so it's on quite a few pages. Okay, so let's check page 183 first. Campaign, what's up? Okay, so looks a little like this. Okie dokie. Let's look at medicinal. Okay, herbalists throughout the world have used elecampaine's thickened root for treating diseases of the chest. Ooh, heart chakra. Rarely used alone, the dried, crushed root is said to be an effective ingredient in many compound medicines. So it is a plant that likes to work with other plants. I like that. I like that in my crystals. I like that in my herbs. I like when they all just get along, you know, they like to work together. American Indian herbalists found the plant to be particularly useful in treating bronchial and other lung ailments. One Indian remedy for such problems was made by combining a half pound each of elecampane root, spikenard root, and comfrey root. Ooh, comfrey's really good. The roots were mashed well, combined with a gallon of water, and boiled down to a quart. The liquid was poured off into a half-gallon container, and 8 ounces of alcohol and a pint of half honey were added. The Indians recommended a teaspoon of the brew every 2 hours. In China, where the native species of the plant is known as Huasuan Fu Hua, elecampane is used in the form of syrup, lozenges, and candy as a soothing treatment for bronchitis and asthma. Besides relieving lung problems, elecampane is thought to aid in soothing stomach cramps and other digestive ailments. Mixing the powdered root with sugar or steeping it in a tea is believed to help regulate menstrual cycles. The root also works as a diuretic and at one time was used as a treatment for water retention, then known as dropsy. Elecampane can still be used as a remedy for coughs and other minor respiratory ailments. To make a tea for this purpose, simmer an ounce of the root in a pint of water and let cool. All right, so what I'm getting is that it seems like it's really effective with like the lungs, this area, you know, our breath of life, you know, how we what fills us up, what lights us up, basically, kind of in this area, just energetically speaking. It said that it was also good for stomach cramps and also for the menstrual cycle. And we think of the menstrual cycle, that is watery. It is connected to like the moon, our intuition and all of that. Oftentimes there are some people whose intuition does work through the stomach. You know, sometimes we rub our stomach and say, I don't know, I don't feel good about this situation. Or, you know, sometimes before going into something that's uncomfortable, your stomach might get into knots. Or sometimes we feel a fluttering in our stomach when we're in love or we find somebody that we're attracted to. So a lot of people's intuition is felt in the stomach. And, you know, when we think of menstrual cycles, that's also intuition. So it seems like it is connected to what lights us up, the heart chakra, but also our intuition. So we're going to focus on that for our channeled guided meditation then. We'll let Ella Campaign take the wheel on this one. So I will try to channel through this plant and allow it to help us with this meditation, but the focus being on something connected to our heart chakra, and things that we love, our passions, but also our intuition, perhaps using that intuition to follow our passions or find our passions, the things that light us up. So on that note, let us find a more beautiful point of view. Let's find some trees. There we go. We have this beautiful pine here. And let's focus on that for our guided meditation. Okay, so I'm going to have another sip of cafe. I will try to be out of the way as much as possible. And then you guys can get into a nice, just a nice peaceful position somewhere. Okie dokie. All right. So go ahead and find a nice comfortable space, a place you will be undisturbed for the next several minutes. You could be laying down. You could be sitting in a chair, perhaps seated on the floor, or perhaps you're lying against a trunk of your favorite tree. Wherever it is, get yourself nice and relaxed. And bring your awareness to the breath, feeling the rise and fall of your chest. Perhaps closing your eyes, feeling a gentle breeze on your skin. Perhaps the chirping of the birds just outside your window. Perhaps you hear the laughter of children. We're not dwelling on any one particular sound, but just allowing each of those sounds to aid us in feeling more and more relaxed. Allow the wind to soothe you, much like plants it is to shed what no longer serves them. We hear the chirping of the birds. We allow their song to open up our heart. We understand that birds are just a mirror for us. See how they sing their song. Everything they speak sounds like music because they speak with truth. They allow themselves to be totally open. So there's much that we can learn from our bird friends. Perhaps we hear human life outside. Vehicles driving by, perhaps children laughing. But with each of these sounds, we fall deeply, deeply into a relaxed state. Continuing to breathe in and out. And so at this moment, Ella Campaign would like you to visualize its energy before you. You don't need to know exactly what this plant looks like because we are tapping in energetically. Perhaps you see a beautiful color in front of you. Perhaps you just feel it. Perhaps it comes across as a piece of music, and perhaps it has a scent. But set your intention that Ella Campaign stands before you. And this plant loves to work with others, and it wants to work with you. You have so much to offer, even if you don't see it yet. You have a multitude of talents swirling within that energy we call our higher self, our soul, the energy of our past lives and all the skills and lessons that we acquired, the energy of our future lives, the energy of this life, and the infinite amount of timelines that this current life resides in, all mixed in that beautiful, bright, nestled inside your human vessel. And Elecampane would like to help you tap into that energy, your energy, to help you find what truly brings you joy in this very moment. Not worrying about what brought you joy in the past or what will bring you joy, but what brings you joy now. And tapping in this way helps to strengthen that connection with our intuition. And the more we utilize it, of course, the stronger it gets. So at this moment, Elecampane places its energy over your heart. And as it does, you feel your body fill with warmth, a joyful, beautiful, radiant warmth from head to toe, feeling so good, so peaceful, so relaxed. You feel your heart open like the blooming of the most beautiful flower. And as it opens, as you feel this connection, you place your hand over the heart space of Elecampane. You light this plant up. It feels calm, peaceful, joyful. It feels warm, feeling your energy over its heart, and its heart begins to open and expand. And now we are in a beautiful connection, human and plants, almost indistinguishable from one another, the two becoming one, a beautiful cyclical energy, hand in hand, heart to heart. And this beautiful swirling energy between you and Elecampane, you begin to feel, you begin to sense or see the things that truly bring you joy. They are not things you need to think about because they readily appear to you. This is your heart speaking. Elecampane is helping you just as much as you are helping the plant. Perhaps it's something as simple as sitting out underneath a tree, bringing you joy. Perhaps it's painting that brings you joy. Perhaps it's singing out loud in the shower that brings you joy. It need not be intricate, but allow these visions, these feelings, these songs or scents, perhaps a taste on the tongue, to express to you the things that actually light you up, that light your soul up. And as you receive each of these messages, all the wonderful things that bring you joy, allow them to be felt inside your entire body. It feels good. It feels warm. It feels exhilarating. It feels healing. And know that when you wake up from this meditation, you will remember those joys and you will try your best to enact them. Perhaps you will read that book, setting aside a little bit of time each day, perhaps sitting underneath that tree, perhaps drawing a pretty picture, perhaps sewing a garment, perhaps making a brew. But thank Alacampaign for helping you to see what was in your heart, just as much as this plant is thanking you at this very moment for allowing it to see what was in its heart. And know that you can come back and work with this plant at any time. But for now, we release the connection. You feel your energy coming back into your body with all the memories of what just occurred, knowing that they are settled right there in your very own heart. And you begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. You can have yourself a nice stretch. And I hope you guys enjoyed that guided meditation with our beautiful plant ally. Ooh, yellow like my earrings. Very nice. Ooh, Lily says, I keep seeing 111 everywhere too. Ooh, new beginnings. John said, that's awesome, Lily. He says, love to everyone here. Thanks again, Tara. You guys are very welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for everybody who hangs out with me here on Sundays. I love spending my Sundays with you guys. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week. Remember to kind of keep in mind what we learned from our weekly reading, that, if something catches us off guard, just we just breathe, ground, and perhaps maybe even call in the magic of Elecampaign to help us tap into our intuition, help us to open our heart space and really assess how we can make the best of the situation, but also learn what we need to learn from that situation so that we can grow and we can move forward in our bliss and in our joy. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Kayla said, Frankie and I enjoyed that meditation. Yay! Frankie's so sweet. I love seeing your birdie on Instagrams. Anyway, I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who allowed me to read for them. Thank you for everybody who hung out with us here today and everybody who will watch the replay. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out. Bye, guys.